allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Mrs. Rail? Here. Mrs. Hett? Here. Mr. Davis? Here. Mrs. Medina? Here. Mr. Bembo?
Here.
Mr. Krings?
Here. First, we'll start with the student reps report.
Okay. So for DECA, our business program, we just had a student leadership lab in the Kalahari. We just came home today. It was over the weekend. And then mock trials just started last week, and winter sports are starting. And then student council, I don't know if you guys know, but we've been going to different classrooms in the elementary schools every Wednesday, really, since school started after homecoming, and that's been really fun. And it's like the teachers are saying that the kids really like it.
What do you do there?
It depends on what the teacher wants us to do, basically. Like when I went to a first grade classroom, and I just helped the teacher organize for books for one of their programs because the students were doing independent work time. And then I went down to the kindergarten classroom and I helped with they had reading buddies, and then they were doing math problems and stuff.
Good. Well, that's great.
A lot of energy. Thank you. Move on to the minutes.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of October 9th, 2017, and the special Board of Education meeting closed session of October 11th.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of October 9th and special Board of Education closed session meeting minutes of October 11th. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Do you have any comments from citizens tonight?
No.
Okay, move on to committee reports. Business services, John.
Thank you, John. Business services met on November 6th, and we started our meeting at 6:02. 6:02. Our only item of business, or consent agenda item, was the community 4K site application approval. Anybody want that held up? The community 4K receives two payments annually, one in the fall, one in the spring, for the operation of the 4K program. Our last increase was in the 2012-13 year, when the annual rate was increased from $2,200 to $2,200 from the 2006-07 rate of $2,100. The amount being recommended was for the 2018-19 school years, $2,225 per 4K student, which will be divided into two payments. So the committee recommends, and I move the proposal to pay $2,225 per 4K student as the 2018-19 allocation for the community 4K sites.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve ES1, which is proposal to pay $2,225 per 4K student as the 2018-19 allocation for the community 4K sites. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Then the balance of our meeting, we had purchase updates, which were the city liaison officer. And I'd also like to point out that the parent-teacher group, I'm not exactly what they call themselves, but I'll just go PTC, parent organization, donated a sign for the Think Academy, and the cost of the sign was $13,000, $12,595. It's a single-color electronic message center sign that will go in the current sign that they have, correct?
Yes.
So it was a very nice donation, and I'm sure it'll make the word out, like the new sign up in front of Lincoln. It'll make it easier to communicate to the public and the parents what's happening in the school. So that's a very nice donation that would never happen without a parents group like that. Mine, thanks for their kids in the schools. We did not have a middle school project update because basically the bids were under embargo at the time. Other than the fact that we did know we were under budget. And that's still open now, correct? Dan? That's correct. Okay. So with that, I move the approval of the balance of the Business Service Committee meeting minutes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from the Business Service Committee meeting November 6, 2017. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, the minutes are approved. Thank you, John. Next we have personnel. Sam.
Personnel Services met last Monday, November 6th, and we started at 5:30 p.m. And from that meeting, we have 10 consent agenda items, and they are as follows. Number one, the committee recommends I move to approve the 2 professional staff appointments. What we're doing is we have a virtual teacher that was half-time, and she's now going to full-time, and it's because we've been very lean in that area of virtual. And number 2, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 4 support staff appointments. 3 of these are long-term subs. One of them was a position we were looking to fill at the beginning of the school year, and we're just able to do it now. 3, the committee recommends and I move to delete board policy 522.41, conflict of interest, for second reading. This simply referred to policy 165, which was deleted. 4, the committee recommends and I move to delete board policy 526, staff complaints and grievances, for second reading. We don't have the grievance procedure anymore. 5, the committee recommends and I move to delete board policy 528, union contracts and agreements, for second reading. We don't have contracts anymore. 6, the committee recommends and I move to approve board policy 510, personal policy goals, for first reading. And what we're typically doing is just taking out some of the cross-references that are no longer applicable to that policy. And what we're doing is, instead of saying the Employees Association, we're just saying the employees. Let's see. Number 7, the committee recommends and I move to approve board policy 523.4, employee assistance, for first reading. Part of it is making the title employee assistant programs. And we're taking out the report be given to the board in August, because August is a very busy month. It'll just be given sometime during the school year. Number 8, the committee recommends and I move to approve board policy 536.2, staff retirement, for first reading. That was taking out one line of it, and that line was, the option to retire early shall be available in accordance with provisions of the appropriate employee agreement. And we took out a lot of the cross-references, which are no longer applicable. And this retirement can also be found in the employee handbook. 9, the committee recommends and I move to approve board policy 511.5, employee anti-harassment, for first reading. And what we're doing there, the positions of HR and superintendent, we're not naming names. That makes it particular. We're just naming the position for this, so that we don't have to change it all the time. 10, the committee recommends and I move to increase the individual hourly wage rate for food service employees as presented by the administration, retroactive to the start of the 2017-18 school year. And we're trying to make this more competitive. We're just not being competitive with other areas in the community that do this. Is there anybody that would like one of these held out?
Oh, I'm sorry, I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve PS1 through PS10. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
And then we had some updates. There's a proposal for a new position in the food service department. Lizzie Severson, the director of food services, is proposing to have a new position, a food production coordinator. In the food service, the food production coordinator would help her with the administration of our food service program, and that's being in line with local, state, and federal requirements. It's just an overwhelming job now that we have. For example, Lincoln has expanded so much, so that, and this would be something that would start later this year, hopefully. There's more information to be coming on that. The committee, we discussed the district's current substitute clerical and support staff aid rate. We're going to consider an hourly wage teacher rate increase for substitute clerical and support staff later, sometime in our 17-18 school year. And we'll be discussing this again at a future meeting. And we did some discussion on the summer school teacher compensation. They have not had any increase in years and years. We are very low. We're about $15. Our neighbors are in Macusa 20, Point and Port Edwards are at 25. So in the summer school, we're finding our teachers would rather teach somewhere in a different district than our own district because our rate is so low. And then we had an update on our 2017-18 open enrollment update. Suffice it to say that we have more ins and outs, and that is plus about $118,524. And with that, I move that the minutes from the November 6, 2017 Personnel Services Committee meeting be approved as printed.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the Personnel Services Committee meeting of November 6, 2017. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And John, we had 10 consent agenda items, and we adjourned at 6:20.
That
Just started at 5:30.
That worked really well.
Thank you for the report, Sandy. Next, we'll move on to educational
John,
services.
can we just back up? She brought the lunchroom up. I'd like to ask Desi, what do you guys think? What do you as a student and the students think of the new lunch area?
I think overall it's a lot more beneficial than it was before. Like, people are getting in a lot faster now, and like we have a lot more time now versus last year, and especially with freshmen coming in. Do you guys know if we're going to be breaking, like if we're going to have another lunch, or if it's still going to be 2?
I believe it will be 3 lunches.
3?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think.
Well, you're talking about next year.
Next year.
Yes, I believe, yeah.
What do you think of the selection?
It's okay. A lot of the time, it says like some days it's really good and there's like a bunch of options, but then some days it's like salad bar, a chicken sandwich, a hamburger, or one of the things are at every single station. Like one thing is at all the stations, and then other days there's like something different at every station, so it's just kind of confusing. And then it's kind of, I heard a lot of complaints about how we can't see what's in the pizza line before we get into the other line. So like if you want to get in line for lunch, you have to either make a decision right away, and like sometimes you don't know what's in there.
Yeah, you gotta shop around a little bit.
What do you mean as far as you can't see what's in the pizza line, as far as what the...
Until you get up there.
You walk in, because like the entrance
Is
is
it
over
going to be
here.
pizza? I mean...
No.
It's in a different area, but that's helpful to know because we could put it on that first
Yeah.
screen as a rotation to see
I think that'd be
what's on there. Yeah.
Because I know a lot of the people complain, they're like, oh, it was cheese fries. I told
Yeah.
everyone in the pizza line.
That's helpful.
Varieties.
So there isn't a menu yet for that?
No, like it's way on the other side, because like it's at the exit of the actual entrance. So,
We know where the room is. All right.
Don't want to drag this out, but have you noticed in the last probably 2 or 3 years that the choices are more nutritious for you? And have you made an attempt to try and select the nutritious choices?
well, I myself, I eat healthy, like usually, like on my own I eat healthy. So like it's kind of a drag when it's not, like when all we have is like orange chicken. But I see how they're trying to implement, like they have like spinach, which I appreciate, but I wish that we had like more dressings, because like I'm not a ranch person, and that's the only salad dressing we have right now.
That's because that's the only improvement. The rest are all bad.
Ranch is literally
We're looking at making
mayonnaise.
some homemade ones, so that's it's helpful to know that we need more.
It's getting better.
Yeah, it's improved.
Thank you.
There's
Thanks for the info.
Yes.
That's huge.
Okay, next we can move on to Educational Services Committee. Mary's going to give a report tonight.
All right, thanks, John. The Educational Services Committee was called to order on Monday, November 6th. There were 28 consent agenda items. Does anyone want any of those held up before I start?
All of them, just
All right, then the committee recommends, and I move to approve the following 28. ES1. Okay, let's see. The deletion of Board Policy 854, display and distribution of materials on school property for first reading. The substance of Board Policy 854 was incorporated into Board Policy 851, which was revised and approved by the board in October of 2017. ES2, the revisions to Board Policy 440, Student Rights and Responsibilities, Freedom of Expression for first reading. Cross-references in the Board Policy 440 needs to be revised to reflect the deletion of Board Policy 854, the name change in Board Policy 411, and the addition of a cross-reference to Board Policy 851. ES3, the revision to Board Policy 851, media distribution in schools, advertising, sponsorship, or commemorative naming rights for district facilities or educational spaces for first reading. Cross-references in Board Policy 851 needed to be revised to reflect a cross-reference to Board Policy 440 for first reading. ES4, the proposed changes to the agriculture course flowchart beginning with the 2018-19 school year. And this is as a result of restructuring beginning in 2018-19. Course offerings in grades 6 through 12 were reviewed by CII subcommittees, and changes were recommended based on the new grade configuration. ES5, the proposed changes to the art course flowchart beginning with the 2018-19 school year. ES6, the proposed changes to the business and marketing course flowchart beginning with the 2018-19 school year. ES7, the proposed changes to the computer science flowchart beginning with the 2018-19 school year. ES8, the proposed changes to the English language arts flowchart beginning with the 2018-19 school year. There were some concerns about dropping the 9th grade drama course, which were shared, and it was pointed out that there are 3 other drama courses available to students. ES9, the recommended changes to the family and consumer science flowchart beginning with the 2018-19 school year. ES10, the proposed changes to the health flowchart with further aesthetic changes to be made to make the chart more understandable beginning with the 2018-19 school year. And then there were math, music, physical education, and science. There was no motion because there were no recommended changes to these flowcharts. ES11, approval of the social studies flowchart beginning with the 2018-19 school year. In attachment E of the background set out the updated social studies flowchart modified from the October background. ES12, the approval of the recommended changes to the technology and engineering flowchart beginning with the 2018-19 school year. And then also world language also did not have a motion. There were no recommended changes to the world language flowchart. The flowchart will include information about how students are able to access 5 years of language instruction if they do not start a first level language until grade 9. And then ES13, let's see. Introduction to Fisheries, Forestry, and Wildlife be added as an elective course in the Agriculture Department, available for students in grades 11 and 12 at Lincoln High School for a 1 credit beginning in the 2018 school year. ES14, Level 4 option be added to the drawing, painting, clay and sculpture, and jewelry and glass sequences of art courses as elective courses in the Art Department, available for students in grades 10, 11, and 12 at Lincoln High School for 1/2 credit beginning in the 2018 school year. ES15, AP Art History be expanded to a 1 credit course, allowing students to receive 1/2 elective credit in art and 1/2 credit in social studies to be team taught by an art and social studies teacher, available for students in grades 11 and 12 at Lincoln High School beginning in the 2018-19 school year, and will run only if sufficient enrollment is available to support 2 teachers. ES16, the curricular change from film to digital and photography 1 beginning in the 2018-19 school year. ES17, that English 4 composition be added as a course in the English Language Arts Department, available for students in grades 12 for 1/2 credit at Lincoln High School beginning in the 2018-19 school year. ES18, was not recommended adding theater arts production as a 1/2 elective credit English language arts course at Lincoln High School. There were several concerns raised about this course, and CII did not support it. The instructor was encouraged to revise the proposal and resubmit it in the fall of 2018. ES19, that child development be added as a course in the Family and Consumer Sciences Department, available to students in grades 10, 11, and 12 for 1/2 elective credit at Lincoln High School beginning with the 2018-19 school year. ES20, that nutrition for healthy living be added as a course in the Family and Consumer Science Department, available to students in grades 10, 11, and 12 for one-half elective credit at Lincoln High School beginning with the 2018-19 school year. And then also there was no motion for Lincoln Launch. The CII committee liked the idea of this course, but felt more information was needed before approval. Details of the course will be worked out and a proposal will be brought forward first to the CII committee and then to the Ed Services Committee for approval. ES 21, that accelerated financial algebra be added as a one-half credit course in the math department, available to students in grade 12 for one-half credit at Lincoln High School beginning in the 2018-19 school year. ES 22, that strength and fitness be offered in both the traditional and blended learning format as a course in the physical education department, available to students in grades 11 and 12 for one-half credit at Lincoln High School beginning in the 2018-19 school year. ES 23, that WIAA referee certification be added as an elective course in the physical education department, available to students in grades 11 and 12 for one-half credit at Lincoln High School beginning in the 2018-19 school year. ES 24, that human geography be added as a required course in the social studies department, available to students in grades 9 for one credit at Lincoln High School beginning in the 2018-19 school year. ES 25, that advanced placement AP Human Geography be offered as an alternative to the required Human Geography course for students in the Social Studies Department, available to students in grade 9 for one credit at Lincoln High School beginning in the 2018-19 school year. ES 26, the revised 2018-19 school calendar, which changes to September 28, 2018 professional day to October 1st. And the reason for this modification is to avoid having a professional development day on the Friday of homecoming week. Okay, ES 27, the purchase of classroom libraries for 40 classrooms that are implementing the reading units of study during 2017-18 instead of waiting until 2018-19 as originally approved at a cost of $159,400 to be paid for from referendum and curriculum funds. And because of enthusiasm for the reading units of study and its effectiveness, 40 elementary classroom teachers have already begun implementing the third phase of the acquisition. As a result, there was a need to purchase libraries for these classrooms now instead of waiting until the 2018-19 school year. And ES 28, the purchase of Brain Pop for 2017-18 school year at a cost of $10,975.27 to be paid for from curriculum, science, and virtual school funds. The district has been purchasing Brain Pop on an annual basis for over 5 years. However, this year, due to cost increases, the price of the program exceeds $10,000, so the board had to approve this. And, okay, so that's it. I need a second. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve ES 1 through 28. Can we have roll call, please, Mary?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mrs. Head?
Yes.
Mr. Krings?
Yes.
Mr. Bembo?
Yes.
Mrs. Rayon?
Yes. Okay, and then we had one update concerning board compensation, and Craig, our superintendent, explained that Wisconsin Act 9, effective June 3rd, 2017, permits school board members to decline compensation payments that may be receiving. Because of this, Board Policy 164, board member compensation and expenses may need to be updated. He explained options available for compensation and asked that board members connect with him within the next 2 weeks to discuss their preference on compensation. He will then take the information discussed and develop a revised policy for approval by the board at a later date. And with that, I make a motion to approve the Ed Services Committee meeting minutes of Monday, November 6th, 2017.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Educational Services Committee meeting minutes of November 6, 2017. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Mary. Next item is agenda referrals or information request. Anybody have anything this one?
I do have one. I've had some people converse with me in regards to the boys hockey and the girls hockey program and the coaching. The costs of the hockey tape, I believe, is all currently fully funded by the hockey parents and booster club, correct?
Yes.
I know some people are saying that the reason some of these kids aren't able to play is because they can't afford to play. I believe, and I haven't got any information, but I believe it's in the neighborhood of somewhere between $1,000 and $1,100 to play. I know some of the neighboring schools, because there was questions and concerns that if the coach retires, how's that going to happen? How do we get a new coach? And that type of thing. And now that there's, I don't know what the issues are. One of the parents was talking about issues with the girls' hockey program and the fact that some of these kids don't pay, like Point and Marshfield, I don't believe they don't pay anything. And then, so I just wanted to basically try to get some information and see what the deal is. Because I know we've had previous programs. I know girls golf at one time was fully funded, self-funded, and then I believe the school district now pays for the coach. And I don't know if there were any other sports, but I have a list of some of the questions I had worked through, and I left it on my desk at work. But, so I will get that to you, but, just so that we have some information, because people are starting to ask questions. If there's anything they can do, at least they have the school district pay for the coach.
Can we go back in the minutes when we decided to go with the two hockey teams, the boys and the girls, and see what was decided at that point in time and why this came about this way?
That's why we need to get the information, find out what.
Right, it's good to have it.
Yep.
Everything.
I was here. It was the same money.
I'll bring that forward too.
I have one.
Okay.
We're talking about advocacy when we went to the Stevens Point seminar a couple Saturdays ago. And I'm thinking we're missing our biggest advocates, which would be parents of students. And I'm thinking when it comes to something when we're asking people to be involved or notice this, maybe we need to be putting something in the school newspapers, a blurb or something, because that's where we're going to get people, I think, responding to, this is going on, or this is going on, or this is happening. It could be, just on a need-be basis, or it could be something that's every month in the paper. I think it's something maybe you should consider. And my other concern is, I've heard some people saying their kids have been in calc, like A, B, or C, D, and if they had it first try and they don't get it again to the third try, it's like they're lost and they're not doing well with it. And I'm wondering what kind of problem is this, causing? I know for a fact one of these is a very good student that had it first try, and when it came to third try, he said, "Mom, I forgot everything. I don't know what I'm doing." So
it's the same thing with foreign languages. Like, it's really hard because then you spend a lot of time reviewing instead of going straight into the next area. Like, I'm having pre-calc right now, and then I won't have it again until third try. So then we're going to spend like the first month reviewing instead of just going straight into the material.
and you find a lot of students having that problem?
Well, like, that's like what the teacher chooses to do, because otherwise everyone's going to be behind. Like, it's like
So you're not saying you're having a problem, you're just saying
it's not a
you're delayed.
personal problem,
Yeah.
but like
Right.
overall, like it
Right,
takes more
you're
time
missing,
out of it.
you're missing.
And I think it might put us at a disadvantage, like when we're taking AP tests. Or how, okay, personally, like all of my AP classes are third try this year. And I don't know how that's gonna go because all the AP tests are third try, so I feel like I'm not gonna be done with my class before I take my test.
That's kind of normal. My wife teaches AP in Houston. She tries to get everything in, but there are parts of it that you take the test before the class is actually finished. And so all you can do is with the practice tests and that type of thing, she tries to review what, if she hasn't covered something, at least bring it up so that you have knowledge of it. That isn't abnormal, because they take the test before school is done.
I'm just wondering why we take, like why we would have it third try, why
Yeah,
we wouldn't
that-
want to have it first and second.
That goes back to that would have to be a scheduling issue, which I'm assuming.
It is a scheduling issue. And I do believe they try to schedule most of the AP courses that are 2 tries, first and second try. So are these 1 trimester AP courses that you're taking that you have third try?
AP stats, I have second and third try.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're right next to each other. But pre-calc's not AP, that's just a regular
Right,
class. That's
right.
before the AP. And then macroeconomics is 1 try. And that's about it. The others are college.
And we knew when we went to the trimester semester schedule, that this would happen, that there would be breaks. You know, some courses would be try 1 and 2, some would be 2 and 3, and some would be 1 and 3. So the teachers are very deliberate about having some time for review, but I can see where that's particularly troubling in the math and the world language when things are building the way they do. So I appreciate your bringing it up, and I'll certainly talk to Ron and find out some of the policies. Did you have another question, Sandy?
Well, how many, like in calc, on the tries, how many classes are offered, like first, second, and third?
How many sections?
How many sections, yeah.
I'm honestly not sure.
And I know there's like, you said AB and then there's BC. I think it's AB, BC.
Oh.
But one of them is all 3 tries because it's 1.5 credits, and one of them is.
I believe that's BC.
Yeah.
And I think we usually only run about 1 section of BC and maybe 2 of AB. But, you know, this could be an issue for all the math classes, but those are particularly intense.
I mean, if we're spending a month reviewing, then they're not covering the material that they should be. Would that be a problem? Or are they being able to cover all the material they should in that second try?
I think covering all the material in a math class is difficult no matter what type of schedule you're in. I think the trimester makes it particularly challenging when you do have that big separation between the two, because you do need to review, you know, during that 3rd trimester when the trimesters aren't right in a row. But sometimes the kids learn it better because they get more depth. Mm-hmm. And so there's arguments pro and con, but maybe it's time that we do an update on how that's going and on the scheduling and address some of those instructors. Absolutely, okay. Absolutely.
Is there any way for the students to review before they get into the next section to catch up? Anything they can do?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we could do review sessions. We can set up review activities for them. There's a lot of things, but I don't know that any of that will completely preclude doing some reviewing when you get the kids, you know. I mean, even when you go from unit to unit, you still have to go back and sometimes do some reviewing. That's not uncommon, even if you were, you know, in a 7-period day and you go from unit 2 to, say, unit 5, and you need to review some concepts from unit 2 to get into unit 5. That happens. That's part of it. But the extent of it and if this is really a difficulty for kids, we need to look at that. That's all I have.
Thank you. We can move on to the legislative agenda. John, what do you have for us?
Well, as far as from the actual legislation agenda, the Assembly and Senate are they're taking their break. A couple things that properly, it says, this is the headline, legislative recesses until January. Hopes given for action for sparsity aid relief for low revenue districts. I don't know, did we ever get a finalization of what the budget is? We did. I do believe we have that document now.
Yep.
And the per pupil aid and categorical aid, first dollar credit, and those types of things were made. Did make it through with details coming. I don't have much detail on it as far as the nuts and the bolts of what the actual dollar amounts are. One of the other things we did is several of us attended an advocacy, she brought up advocacy. We were at the advocacy conference on November 4th up at Stevens Point that was to be put on. And it always frustrates me when we talk about the advocacy, because you want to try to talk to work with your legislators, and it's frustrating when you try to talk with your legislators and they really aren't listening per se. One of the things that they did recommend that Sandy brought up earlier is that our best advocates are our parents, and trying to get our parents involved, and that's why one of the suggestions was put information in the newsletter, or that we came out with when we were talking, that we heard that if you want to advocate and get your parents involved, give them the information in the newsletter, who to contact, what to contact, and how it's affecting their children. And maybe that'll start helping get some advocacy on the backside, because the legislators always tell us that they want to hear from their constituents. Now, the irony is that
we're supposed to be represented.
That the legislature in our areas who we should talk to first. However, a lot of times the people that are in the educational committees aren't in our area. So you want to hit all of them when you send something to the legislator, or if you're trying to get a point across for something, you want to copy those people that are involved on that committee, but you also want to copy your 2 local legislators so that they have an idea of what the concerns are. One of the other things that they talked about is that there are 412 or 13 school districts now in the state. What's that?
423.
423 in the state, and we do still have a voice, but we have to be a unified voice. So if there is a hearing coming up and you want to say your piece to the legislators, send them the information. WASB has done a great job of bringing it up, and that's one of the parts of that I think, as far as part of the legislative update is that I'm going to try to bring forward. And sometimes it happens quick, and it won't happen now because the legislature's out. But Dan sends out these updates or something that you should send a note to a legislator about, and they literally have a spot where now you can click on it. It comes up with email you can send, which you can also change. So if you want to add some words or change some words, and then you can address it to whoever you want to send it to. But it's kind of like a prepackaged form that looks a little more personalized. But she said basically click, send it, and then you can put the addresses in and send it out. So it's very user-friendly and very easy to do, so it takes very little time. So you don't have to spend time composing or looking up notes or trying to copy and paste something. You just take the document, insert it, and send it. So that is a nice tool that WASB has come up for helping for advocacy. One of the other things that I was a very lucky soul and won this as a drawing at that conference. One of the unique things about this is it's made by the Industrial Tech Ed group at 3 Lakes, which ironically had to have a referendum to stay open. But this is an officially licensed product through the UW, and they make it for the UW up in their industrial arts group. So I thought it was kind of a neat thing as far as having a group of high school kids make this stuff for sale. And they do sell them down at the Madison in their shops. My son works at the Bucky's locker room, and he says they do have them. So that's kind of a unique thing that a high school class and group and school district makes that for the UW. Does anybody else have anything to share about the advocacy? Okay. So as part of that group is that I want to bring those forward, so I'll try to do a little more research on that, and so that everybody has that information on where to go on the site and get it, and so you can just click and send letters.
Good, thanks, John. Okay, next up is bills.
Okay, I would make a motion that the receipts be noted and the bills be paid as printed.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that the receipts be noted and bills paid as printed. Rink, we have roll call, please.
Mrs. Hett?
Yes.
Mr. Benville?
Yes.
Mrs. Rail?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Krings?
Yes. Thank you, Maureen. Moving to new business. First item, possible action on employee appointments, resignations, and retirement requests.
We do have a few, John. Just prior to the start of the meeting, I handed a sheet around with a couple of names. We do have a recommendation for a teacher appointment, and we do have one retirement request from a custodial maintenance employee in the district. The appointment, I will just note that this position still ties to a resignation we had days before the start of the school year. We had a special education position at the high school that we were not able to fill. We've gone with a long-term, a couple of different long-term sub-teachers to fill the gap for this first half of the school year. But Tori Olson, the person that we're recommending, is graduating mid-year, and we're looking to bring her on board in January after she finishes her student teaching and graduates. So I just wanted to note that the appointment does tie to a vacancy that has carried over from the start of the school year.
I would move that the 2 appointments and retirement as noted on the sheet, Tori Olson and Albert Botchers, be approved as printed.
Second, but one is a staff appointment,
Yeah,
and one is
I would recommend
retirement.
that you handle the 2 separately. Maybe you would like to
Okay.
first handle the appointment.
I'll do Tori. I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the one professional staff appointment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and I would make a motion to approve the support staff retirement as printed.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the one support staff retirement. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, discussion and possible action to approve district health insurance plan renewal for 2018.
I'm assuming that, as indicated, it's a recommendation that it be a 4% increase as printed or as you set up.
Yep, there was two options that were circulated around. Option 2 was a 2% increase in modification and what would be a drug benefit. And because the 4% is really quite palatable, frankly, and staff just went through a pretty significant change in benefit structure and plans, the recommendation is to maintain the status quo and incur a 4% increase moving into next year and see what happens for the future.
What year are we in with the WCA? Second or
This is our
third?
first year, so renewing the second year with the group trust.
And they didn't really want to do the third year initially, did they? Memory serves me correct. They kind of did a second year not to exceed, but they didn't really want to go out to 3.
That is correct. Yeah, based on our past loss ratio and the fact that we were in the group, they did not want to look at any sort of agreement to do a third year. As far as moving into the second year, we had a cap rate increase of 8%, and we actually were anticipating the renewal possibly coming in as high as 8%. So we were happy to see it come in at 4%.
Do you know why?
Our loss ratio was a little bit better than what they were perhaps anticipating. Making the switch, and partly why we went to bid previously, is we were running at a loss ratio over 100%. Currently, through the first half of the year, through July 1, our loss ratio this last year was at 95%, which is about where you want to be. We would anticipate that to go up the second half of the year a little bit, but the 4% seems appropriate.
When you listen to some of the arguing in Congress, et cetera, it sounds like the sky is falling. We should be lucky with 4%. So I would move that the 2018 health insurance plan renewal with the WCA Group Health Trust with no plan changes and a 4% increase in premium charges effective January 1st, 2018.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the 2018 district health insurance plan renewal with WCA Group Health Trust with no plan changes and a 4% increase in premium charges effective January 1, 2018. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Was our cap on that second year 8%?
Yes.
Okay.
Item C, discussion and possible action to approve health savings account funding by the district for employees covered on the group health plan for the 2018 plan year.
The previous year, as we moved to this new health plan design, we did have a health savings account that was provided, or deposits that were provided to employees that were on our group plan last year. The district contributed $3,000 per employee on a family health plan and $1,500 per employee on a single plan. The administration is recommending that the board provide the same deposits in the same amounts this year as we did the previous year.
Ryan, what have you heard from employees now that they've had a year to kind of get used to this? Are they working with HSA okay?
Yeah, things have gone very well, and our employees seem to be very pleased with this new concept. Obviously those that are in a position of not needing to use the health plan a lot are saving money and like the fact that they hold on to those dollars and can carry them forward and use them into the future, as well as make their own tax-free contributions as well. So we believe that's also contributed to why our loss ratio is down, is our employees are being better consumers because they do have that incentive to hold on to these dollars that are deposited for them.
Thanks.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve the employer contribution to district employees' health savings reimbursement accounts in an amount of $1,500 for employees carrying a single plan and $3,000 for employees carrying a family plan effective January 1st, 2018.
Second.
Motion is second to approve employer contribution to district employees' health savings reimbursement accounts in an amount of $1,500 for employees carrying a single plan and $3,000 for employees carrying a family plan, effective January 1, 2018. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, action to approve 2017-18 AFSCME Local 1075 Custodial and Maintenance Bargaining Unit Collective Bargaining Agreement.
I can speak to this item as well. Our custodial maintenance group is a union. It's one of our 2 remaining unions within the district. This last year, unfortunately, we did not come to an agreed-upon bargain. The board did end up imposing what was an increase at the CPI rate. The difference of opinion that we had with our group was on how those dollars were to be distributed. Because we did not come to an agreement, the board did exercise the right to impose that increase, including the distribution. So because we didn't have an agreement at that level, we never got to the point of bringing forward an actual collective bargaining agreement with that increase on it to the board for approval, but we still do need to go through that process. And normally that'd be done concurrently with an increase if we had a straight agreement with the group, but that did not occur this year. I would remind the board again that in the Sense Act 10, that with groups that are organized as unions, we still do have a collective bargaining agreement, but it's a very simplified collective bargaining agreement. It's a simple 1-page agreement with 4 articles. The 4 articles include the first one being the recognition clause, which identifies which employees are in that group. The second article is simply a 1-sentence line that identifies the bargain year, and we only do 1 year at a time, so it's for the 17-18 year. Article 3 outlines what the increase was on wages, and that was the CPI increase of 1.26% already imposed by the board. And then finally, the 4th article just simply, in legalese, if you will, outlines that we agree to follow applicable law when it comes to the provisions of the agreement with the group. So the board does need to take official action to continue that agreement with this group. They are still organized, at least a pending recertification election that they are in the middle of right now that concludes on November 21st. They still are pending that election, a group, at least through June 30th per this agreement, June 30th of 2018 per this agreement.
A motion to approve the 2017-18 AFSCME Local 1075 Custodial and Maintenance Collective Bargaining Agreement. Second.
Okay, we have a motion second to approve the 2017-18 AFSCME Local 1075 Custodial and Maintenance Collective Bargaining Agreement. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, update discussion on tax levy and aid certification for 17-18 and possible action to approve 17-18 budget amendment.
The tax levy that the board approved originally back in June is the levy that we're submitting to the townships. There was no change in that levy. That levy did include an amount for the community locker room, which would be on the north side of that pool area. And that will be worked on this spring. That will be added onto the north side of the pool. That will be part of the levy. For that project, will be in Fund 80. And even with that amount, there was no increase in the total levy. You also had in front of you the budget amendments that we're proposing at this time. The biggest change was the adding the costs for the high school addition into the general fund levy, and then the middle school addition was moved to Fund 38. Fund 49, excuse me. Expenses are going to be in Fund 49 for this year. And if you flip to the back side of the second page, you'll see Fund 49 on the bottom there. That includes both energy projects. It includes the project that we're bringing forward tonight, as well as the project that was approved last June or April, whenever it was, for all the energy projects at Lincoln. And then it also includes the addition to the middle school. Any questions on anything?
So if we got our energy efficiency projects approved this year, now they're gone. There's no more energy projects available, or?
That's correct.
Even
after December 31st, anything that, the way we understand it, and is that unless you have a project approved and financed before the end of December, you have to wait 1,000 years.
So energy efficiency is against the law.
Well, you can fund it. Either you can go to referendum to fund projects after December. You'd have to go to referendum, or you'd have to find some other way to finance it.
And for clarity's sake, if you notice, what we'll do is talk about some potential projects at Rams and some of our other buildings that we can incorporate under the energy exemption by getting it approved this evening, if you so choose.
I actually put those in the budget, this budget here, so we probably should approve this after we have the presentation. But, you could approve it with the caveat that that's
1,000 years is a long time.
Actually, the projects themselves, the projects that we presented tonight, and then they'll come forward for approval at the December meeting. So you'll have a month or two. I'll think about it.
I make a motion to approve the amendment for 27-18 district budget as presented.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve an amendment to the 2017-18 district budget as presented. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item F, discussion and possible action to approve a resolution to authorize borrowing not to exceed $9,200,000 for the Rams construction project and providing for the issuance and sale of general obligation promissory notes.
Okay. This is the financing for the middle school. It'll be financed out of Fund 38. We would issue debt for that. And then the actual expenditures will be recorded in Fund 49. And we're actually we're requesting approval for the authorization to borrow the money. There's a 30-day petition period, and then so once you approve it tonight, it won't actually be finalized for 30 days. So sometime in December is when the money will actually close on the borrowing.
And if you recall, this will be paid back via Fund $10 that instead of paying down debt, will be paid towards this new debt over the next 10 years or less potentially. Correct?
This one's over 9, but it's over 9 years.
Meaning it's developed in the existing budget.
Okay, any other questions?
Well, I guess I ask this question every time, you probably get sick of it. But have you made provisions, as many as you can, for local people to be employed in the process?
That'll come later.
That'll come later? Okay.
They can hold off and answer that when
they got it.
This is for the Rams remodel.
This is just for the
addition, pardon me. Rams addition.
This is just for funding the project, and they'll actually present the projects
then answer that question.
Yeah, and they're not presenting on the middle school project later.
I'd make a motion to approve a resolution to authorize borrowing not to exceed $9.2 million for the Rams construction project and providing for the issuance and sale of general obligation promissory notes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve a resolution to authorize borrowing not to exceed $9,200,000 for the Rams construction project and providing for the issuance and sale of general obligation promissory notes. We have a roll call vote, please, Bree.
Mrs. Hett?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Pembo?
Yes.
Mrs. Rail?
Yes.
Mr. Krings?
Yes. All right. Next item, presentation by Nexus Solutions on potential future energy exemption efficiency projects in district buildings.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us back. Once again, I'm Jeff Mangan, Account Executive with Nexus Solutions, and I'm here tonight with Hans Knoll, who's a project development engineer with Nexus. We've both been involved with your district for about a year now, working on various aspects of the current projects that are being implemented, part of which we saw tonight. Another part is just starting. I'll be talking about that more in a minute, but I'd like to direct your attention up to the projection screen. We've got about 15 to 20 minutes, I understand. We'd just like to share with you what we've been up to for the past number of months, working with your district, the administration, and in particular Ed Ellison on the identification of additional projects that could fall within the revenue limit exemption scope to help take advantage of that while we still can prior to its expiration on December 31st. So if you just give us a minute here, we'll jump right into things. So the agenda for this evening is as follows. We're going to talk first about the goals and objectives for tonight. Then we'll touch on the projects currently in process within the district. Then also mention the legislative changes that Dan referred to a moment ago. Then we'll jump into the comprehensive analysis and go through as best we can, as quickly as we can, the needs that we identified at the Rams building and then also the elementary schools in which the district has got a continued going concern. In other words, we didn't take a look at buildings that for which you didn't have a going concern, right? So we'll break that down for you in a minute. Then we'll talk about the process timeline that we followed to date and what still remains. And then feel free to stop us anytime with any questions that you have. So we'll take a look at the comprehensive audit for Rams and the elementary schools in a moment. And then what remains for you, which is next on the agenda, is a consideration of passing the initial borrowing resolution, which would kick off the 30-day petition period. And publication would be tomorrow. So it takes us through December 14th. At the December 11th board meeting, the board will can consider approving the contract for the work, and then also passing the revenue limit exemption that same evening. So work done to date. Nexus participated in the phase 1 project that we toured this evening. Our end of it was providing design oversight work. For a while on the tour, I disappeared into the mezzanine of the wrestling room. That was one of our contributions, if you will, because the initial plan called for exposed rooftop units on those two building additions, which we recommended to the district that you consider internalizing those those systems, hence the need for a mezzanine in which to put the air handling unit and sensitive electronic equipment. So you saw that yellow staircase going up. That's where that equipment is located. And I think that was a very good solution that helped to provide a true 40-year type solution for Lincoln High School versus a solution where you'd be replacing equipment in about 20 years or less. Subsequent to that design effort, we got to work on identifying other facility needs at Lincoln High School, and that work is just getting underway. I talked to Ike McWaters, your project manager, tonight, and he said that last week, I think it was, lighting started on the south end of the building. Plumbing is starting now, and work will continue in earnest through spring, early summer of next year. So all of those energy efficient improvements for Lincoln High School are now underway. What we've been working on since September is the examination of other district buildings, most notably Rams, and then the elementary schools, taking a look at what needs exist within those particular buildings. And we'll be getting to that in a moment. So, legislative changes affecting the revenue limit exemption. If you've been tracking on this since January 1, it's been in jeopardy for a full year. And then its fate was sealed with the veto pen, where the governor basically took the revenue limit exemption away for what could amount to be 1,000 years. So it's kind of strange how that occurred, but it's the situation as it exists, and essentially what we learned at that same time he vetoed it in this fashion is that we have until December 31st to approve projects. And so your existing projects are grandfathered in, of course, and then you have the ability to pass a resolution between now and the end of the year and help enable other district buildings to be in the same, or approach the same kind of condition that Lincoln High School will be in for a considerable period of time. We identified more needs in Rams in the elementary schools than money allows to provide for implemented solutions. But nonetheless, we think that you can put a good dent in deferred maintenance at these other buildings by use of the revenue limit exemption before the end of the year. You're in good company. We're working with all these districts right now. You see a number of them in this region of the state. Merrill, Wausau, Mosinee, Stevens Point, DC Everest have all approved projects recently since the revenue limit exemption was put into jeopardy and then vetoed. But we're also working with other districts and other pockets of the state. So you are in good company. And this is just the companies that, or the districts that our company is working with. We have competitors who are doing projects with other districts. So the legislature is well aware that this window of time would give districts the opportunity to still take advantage of it. So with that, I'll turn things over to Hans, and he's going to address the comprehensive analysis.
So as Jeff had stated, we developed quite a bit more than what we're presenting here tonight. This is what we call BIM summary. This summarizes the BIMs, building improvement measures, that the administration and us reviewed together last week, kind of putting a priority together for it. The first two pages are the pages that we're presenting. Would you like one? Everybody from this group that would like to see this? Three more left. So the first two pages are projects that I will present here momentarily. The last two pages should be highlighted in a pink or orange. Those are items that didn't make this phase. What they're going to allow is for Ed and his team to put together a 5, 10, 20-year plan, incorporate them moving forward for improvements. But what we're going to focus on are page 1 and 2 here as I move forward. Again, Jeff said we looked at 7 elementary schools, Rams, B&G building. We did not look at Lincoln, of course, because we already had a phase of that. We didn't look at East, Vesper, or Children's Choice, just because I wanted to focus on these other buildings at hand. started this analysis out with the utility analysis. That's where we always start. We want to understand where these buildings are, dollar per square foot. And as we expected, wood side was one of the higher dollar per square foot. As a whole, your buildings are actually at average or a little bit below. A couple reasons for this. Number one, as we went through, it's clear that your facilities team does a very good job keeping the buildings clean, keeping the equipment in good condition. I tour buildings every day, and I would say that you guys are on the top echelon. These facility buildings are on the top echelon of cleanliness and operations, considering their age. So kudos to that group that either takes pride or it has good leadership. But nonetheless, there's always room for opportunity, as you'll see here. We wanted to focus here as it pertains to energy savings opportunities, building envelope items which have a component of energy, but when we get looking at windows, energy is not going to pay for window replacement, but it's still something that needs to be done. And then similarly, mechanical environmental systems, again, there's an energy component to it, but as compared to the cost, it just doesn't pay for it on its own. So we really rely on the energy savings items. Looking at LED lighting throughout the district. Now we're doing this at Lincoln. We look to implement this on the remaining buildings that I highlighted in the previous slide. So going to a flat panel LED, which I don't know if you noticed that in some of the rooms that were done in the Lincoln rooms that were done as part of the previous project and are now getting done as part of the energy efficiency project throughout the remainder of the school. A couple caveats to that is you can see a couple pictures. Where's my pointer at here? A couple buildings still had spline ceilings, and splines are kind of an interlocking ceiling, not a lay-in ceiling like this, where we wouldn't want to invest brand new fixtures into an older style ceiling. Not a huge amount of this, but those 4 schools I listed there, Grant, Howe, Meade, and Woodside, they've got wings that we want to replace that ceiling now, giving it a better look, number one. Number two, allowing for improved maintenance in the future, and then obviously getting a modern LED fixture in there that provides better light, less efficient, more efficient light. At Rudolph, they got a worn lay-in ceiling there. So again, instead of replacing this, we call this a surface mount light, rather than provide a new surface mount light, we want to replace the entire ceiling and put a lay-in fixture that again provides more energy efficient, it's higher energy efficiency and better light for the students and staff there.
How does it actually do that when you replace one with another one?
Well, in this case, we're going to replace that full ceiling tile and put a brand new fixture in.
But how does it save money?
Because right now you've got, well, in this case, in these rooms, for instance, although we didn't do this room, we've got three fluorescent bulbs in there. We're going down to a fixture, an LED fixture that uses more than half the energy by using just newer technology.
Leave the rest of it.
You can. There's opportunity for that, but the costs in the new fixtures have improved so much that it's not worth doing the extra benefit by replacing it and not kind of gutting it, if you will, and using the existing fixture, is we can go to a dimmable LED. If you just put in LED tubes, they're not necessarily dimmable and they don't save as much energy. So just giving you, again, trying to give you something that's not, more than something we were doing 2 and 3 years ago, giving you the next, and this isn't cutting edge technology. I don't want to make it sound like we're doing, this is stuff that's tried and proven, and obviously you've already done it at
I'm old-fashioned. I'm sorry.
The last item is the water conservation measures. This is pretty simply put, going to a lower flow and strategic bathrooms and sinks, particularly on water closets or toilets, not urinals. A couple of the hand washing sinks in classrooms, and then some in the kitchens. So pretty strategic areas there. Looking at building envelope. When I say building envelope, that's windows, doors, tuck pointing, masonry. So here, this slide, we're looking at window replacements at 6 of the schools. A number of these schools have the older wood windows here. Excuse me, in this picture you can see a little bit of rotting starting in some of the places. They're 30 to 40 years in most of these schools, so this gives us a good opportunity to replace these now with newer windows, higher energy efficiency rating, of course, save energy in the heating season, save energy in the cooling season of the buildings that have cooling. exterior door replacements. In most cases, the doors are just getting refurbished, meaning they'll get taken off, they'll get stripped, primed, painted, new continuous hinges. There's a couple random doors. You can see a little bit of rusting at the bottom that either we'll have to replace the doors or we can cut that out and rebuild that area. So we'll go through and did a full exterior door analysis at these 6 schools and get those exterior doors updated. At Mead and Howe, we a little bit more extensive building envelope work here. Since we are replacing quite a few windows at these 2 buildings, we wanted to address the glass block removal at these 2 schools. So in those cases, we will take that glass blocks out. We'll either infill them with block or we'll put a new window in it. And again, that's kind of strategic things. Something like this, a stairwell, we might put in block halfway and put some high tempered glass at the top so you still get some natural light in combination. Same thing at Mead, where you've got this, well, both Mead and Howe have this glass block into the gymnasium. At Mead, Ed's team did a good job putting an insulation and a window side here, residential siding on the exterior, but it's getting beat up. It's not a long-term solution. So again, in this case, at both those places, we'll take that glass block out, we'll put in brick infill, we'll put some skylight windows up so we still get some natural light at the top and keep it vandal-proof. Looking at the HVAC solutions, and a lot of this ends up getting into the deferred plan, the 10 to 20 year plan that Ed's going to digest and put that in his system. But what we did want to address was Washington and Woodside are definitely the older mechanical systems here. Particularly, they've got pneumatic controls throughout. So we wanted to get that converted, basically take out that binary control system and go to a digital control system, a more modern system, which a lot of the other elementary schools have. The district's invested in that, but Washington and Woodside remain. As a matter of conversation, Rams still remains too, but we've tabled that one for now. When we do this at Washington, we'd also update the unit ventilators. These are the piece of mechanical equipment that provide heating and cooling in the circle area, the 1992. Those are getting a little bit long in the tooth, require a lot of maintenance, and we can upgrade and improve that system in that building. At Woodside, kind of the center original building has its air served from underneath. This is terribly inefficient and just isn't good air quality. As you can imagine, air is being sent through ducts underground. So we want to revise that system. We call that the 1995 area. And then there's a couple air handling units on the north side that are from 68 and 88. So they're 30 and 50 years old respectively. So get those replaced as part of this project.
I'll jump in if you don't mind, Hans, and just simply say if you look at the back couple of pages with the pink, there's HVAC and other projects for the other elementaries that are there that are not included in the total. Remember, those back 2 pages are excluded, and the reason behind that is just because of the cost. And when we looked at, why Mead and Washington, those would be for HVAC, because those are clearly some higher dollar figures. The conversation was which buildings, if we had to do, which ones should we do to get to our $9 million figure, and that is those are the most troubled or most areas of the highest concern on those 2 elementary schools. Because part of what we did was develop this list and then pare it back to bring to you tonight, which is why you see it in the form that it is. So those projects and a potential dollar figure for those projects are also included, although if approved, we would not do those. And Ed and myself and Dan would work on developing a project, a scope over the next 10 to 20 years, as Hans is indicating, of facility plans and improvements that would be conceivably in the revenue cap or potentially, some other creative funding in the future. But again, the ages of these buildings, and I asked those to be included too, so if you look, our newest building that we have, believe it or not, is Rams built in 1970, of the sheet you're looking at tonight. And I know there's been additions and renovations, into the early 2000s. Even still, I'll point out, 99, 2000 was 18, 19 years ago. So it's an interesting opportunity. And I would also argue that, looking at Rudolph real quick, Rudolph's the newest elementary we have. When you walk into that building, it's like, wow, this is a new elementary. It was built in '69, I think it says here. That's crazy to me. So anyway, I just wanted to jump in and apologize. Not a problem.
And you notice he said 1995 was actually 1959.
Oh.
It was 59 when that system was in Woodson.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now it's a dirt tunnel.
What's kind of similar to what Vesper had,
Yeah,
correct?
and there's a lot of heat loss. Well, by the time it gets to the end of the run, you know, the temperature's down in the low 60s, so there's a lot of heat loss there, plus not real good air quality. Same thing at Washington in the Circle area. Those units are up overhead. We have a lot of air quality complaints down there. Plus, they're not real serviceable, so you're putting people at risk on ladders working on them. They don't get the care they would get if they were down on the ground, put it that way.
I know I went through that pretty quickly. I'm trying to be respectful of your time. If there's any other questions, obviously got a couple more slides here, but that's pretty much the focus of the $11.5 million project. A big portion of that is the lighting and the windows. From a dollar figure standpoint, those are big nuggets, but those will really provide a lot of noticeable improvements in those schools.
Was there any thought, I know I should have studied this more, but some buildings are air conditioned and some are not. And they get pretty hot before school gets out. That's just the way it's going to be. That's
part of, again, when you look into the last 2 pages, we've got some line items for adding air conditioning if we upgraded the mechanical. So, that would be a separate conversation. Obviously, once the district finds the budget to make those upgrades, that's the time to have that conversation, unless you're having summer school issues now.
Well, I think clearly your HVAC is going to be an area where you can recoup a lot of energy loss and dollars more quickly, but it's also the most expensive aspect of any of these things that we're talking about. And then if you look at, windows, doors, some of the building envelope things that Hans mentioned, although, I mean, think about that. How many buildings are you aware of that have been around since the 50s or 60s and have not had new, the doors might have been updated or repaired on occasion, but we've got original windows in these buildings and original doors in some cases that, just a quick repair or a replacement is going to cost us money, but there's going to be energy savings as well. I guess that's a long-winded way of saying if we had an opportunity to do HVAC on almost all of these buildings, that would be the recommendation. But then that dollar figure is upwards of $30 million or 25, I believe was the number. And there's a couple of pieces too to be aware. The lighting upgrade, which is district-wide facilities transitioning over to LED, there's focus on energy savings there, and then there's also the long-term energy savings of money you don't have to spend on the electricity. That's being done over a one-year project, or one-year budget, I should say, and paid for is a little over $2 million out of our existing budget. The bonded portion, which is the 9.3, and that's why you see separate categories on your totaler on the left-hand side with the check boxes of your spreadsheet. The bonded is that 9.3 million and some change, and so they're the same, but they're separate. So the lighting retrofit district-wide is going to transpire out of the spending from next year's budget, if approved clearly. And then the 9.3 resolution for borrowing, which is an agenda item that you're going to see next through the energy exemption, would be longer term, paid back over the life of the bond, presumably 20 years. So I wanted to clarify that for you.
One of the things on those LED lights, you weren't at the tour, but as we went into the new wrestling side of the multi-purpose gym, they were up at full capacity. And Ron went in there and he said, man, these are awful bright. So he just went over and turned the switch from full capacity to 50%. So you could turn an LED light, you can dim them and switch them, where these you can't. And the other thing with the LEDs is this fixture is that big, you can get that same amount of light with a fixture probably bigger than that. So that's the difference, that you don't have the heat generation from the lights, because those lights all generate heat, and that also saves you in your heating and air conditioning costs.
Computers, et cetera, change, every minute, and then pretty soon I'll throw those out, get some new ones. Have you made any provisions that we'll be ready for what they're going to throw at us in 10 or 15 years? Yeah. Oh, throw that all out. You got to get this.
No, I hate to say it, but with the way lighting changes, you're right, there'll be some newer, better technology in 5, 10 years, there's no doubt about it. But with the amount of energy we're saving, basically more than half amount, and the amount of incremental energy savings that you're going to get now, right now, if one of these fixtures is using, 50 cents an hour, we're getting it down to 25 cents per hour. It's getting really tough to squeeze any more energy savings out of it, and it will happen. But this is a good time to take advantage of this modern technology.
You can tell that I use things a long time.
Yeah. So there's the quantitative, financial benefit from LED lighting, and going from T8 lights like you have now to LED will be a big jump. But also, great. Necedah School District, where we did a project about a year ago, changed out all their lighting from fluorescent to LED. They said that in the scheme of this $7 million improvement project, which touched everything from rooftop units to boilers, chillers, walls, etc., that the most impactful improvement was the LED lighting. That they notice mood improvements among the staff and students, and that's really quite remarkable.
As the sun goes away, we need that.
5,000 Kelvin LED lighting has its benefits for learning. For sure.
In general, what's the payback? If you did it, if there's an average building and you do the lights, what's the payback on an average school building?
We've been seeing 7 to 12 years, depending on what lighting system you have in there. So reasonably under 10-year payback on energy alone.
What kind of lighting do we have in the Lincoln High School main gym?
That's going to be changed.
That's going to be changed.
It's current fluorescent.
Those are high output T8s like this.
They're what?
They're little high output T8.
Those were replaced, how many years ago? Because I remember doing that.
Well, we relamped and reballasted everything about 4 years ago. But before that, it was about 8 years. Yeah.
8 years, yeah.
And yeah, they were the old induction style that took a while to warm up. And
yeah.
So that's the only caveat. The low or high efficiency T8s, I mean, they use less power, but going to the LEDs, our lighting was about 60% of our overall electrical spend back then. Now we're probably at 45 to 50, and Hans can probably attest to this better than I can. By going to the LEDs, we're probably going to be around the 25-30% range. So it's big. We spend $1 million a year on utilities here. And looking back, as far as I could look back, was 1986. We spent $1 million then on utilities. So every efficiency that we've done along the way, because your kilowatt rate, everything at gas right now is at historic lows, so that's helping us some. But everything else goes up: your water, your sewer, your kilowatt rate. So we got to bring our demand down, and that's the only way we can affect that. We can't affect rate increases. As our demand goes down, if we can keep that number the same, or hopefully get it to drop, my goal is under $1 million, to spend annually. And by doing some of these projects, we can get there, I believe. We could save as high as $100,000 a year in utilities. That's money we can spend on other projects eventually.
But unfortunately, when the utilities see the demand go down, then the rate goes up.
Exactly. They came to that at Rams already. But they want you to conserve, but yet the rate increases as you use less. But
with this lighting, is there any rebates from Focus on Energy? I think there will be.
Yeah, there's pretty good rebates on those. Their design team through Nexus alone on the Rams project. I just got Friday. I got a letter from Focus on Energy. We were pre-approved for about $40,000 in rebates there. Okay. That's just on the new addition. That's because we went with displacement ventilation, higher efficiency products. I don't know what the Focus rebate is on lighting, but it's pretty substantial.
Okay. It's always changing, and their budget year ends here just at the calendar year, so we'll find out soon what the rebates are, how much money they've got to give away.
But your estimates are earmarked on the sheet.
Yeah, these are based on 2017, so we'll see soon.
That changes in January. The new rate comes
comes out. And, like we get boiler tune-ups, those are on there, and then the next year they might not be. So LED lighting, the time to do it is now because the focus rebates are going away because it just makes sense to do it. You know, people are doing it without the rebates. So these fixtures, when I started looking at it like 3-4 years ago, were $250, $300 for a 2x4 troffer. Now they're down $100, $120 for edge lit.
Mr. Davis, to address what you had asked originally, so when we do this work, we'll put drawings together. It'll be bid out. We've worked with Ed and his team to understand who the local contractors are that we want to invite to the table, who the local qualified contractors are. So yeah, I assure you we'll get local contractors involved as much as possible.
Keep the money in town.
Right. And there's plenty of qualified ones here.
So as a summary point for this phase 3, which is actually our phase 4, because I neglected to mention that we're involved in the design for the new Rams edition. But for phase 3, there remains 2 additional milestones. Well, beyond the approval of the resolution tonight, there would be the approval of the contract on December 11th, and at the same time, the revenue limit exemption resolution itself, because you have to approve the contract first, then the resolution, and then after that, we'd get to work on the implementation, which starts with a project kickoff meeting, and these projects would all run in parallel, essentially, at each of the schools and be managed by the Nexus project manager, much in the same way the Lincoln improvements are being done right now.
And technically, Jeff, it'd be an amendment to our existing contract with Nexus.
Correct. It's actually an amendment, so it's about 40 less pages. So. And that's it. Any other questions or issues?
I guess we take no action on that tonight. That'll be next month. Thanks for the presentation. This is good information to have.
Pleasure. Oh, that's next, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then last item under new business, discussion and possible action to approve a resolution to authorize borrowing not to exceed $9.3 million for district energy projects.
Make a motion to approve the resolution to authorize borrowing not to exceed $9.3 million for district energy projects in various buildings and providing for the issuance and sale of general obligation promissory notes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve a resolution to authorize borrowing not to exceed $9.3 million for district energy projects in various buildings and providing for the issuance and sale of general obligation promissory notes. We have a roll call vote, please, Maureen.
Mrs. Rail? Yes. Mrs. Hutt?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Bembo?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina? Yes. Mr. Cranes?
Yes. Thank you, Maureen. I guess that's it for our agenda. We look at the